Do y'all realize the unsung hero on this squad is ranked 6th all time in offensive rebounds per game, Steven Adams?
Through the first stretch of this season, the Houston Rockets aren't just winning games, they're breaking the math of basketball. They're grabbing over 40.9% of their own misses, a number no modern team has touched in nearly 30 years. And Steven Adams, he's pulling up an offensive rebounding percentage so absurd it makes Dennis Rodman look normal. 26.37%, the highest in NBA history by a colossal margin. Houston isn't trading possessions with you, they're taking them. And if this is what the Rockets look like in version 1 of this system, the league has no idea what's coming. Houston isn't winning because their stars are healthy, they're winning because the system doesn't care who's healthy. This team doesn't get weaker when pieces go missing, it gets sharper. They lost their point guard before opening night. The offense shifted to a point center. Şengün doubled his assists and kept a 13.3% turnover rate, cleaner than half the guards in the league. They lost their rebounding anchor, the possession edge didn't budge. They lost their leading scorer. The defense hardened instead of breaking. Other teams collapse when the plan changes, Houston reconfigures. This is anti-fragility, a roster that gets more dangerous the more chaos you throw at it. The moment that defined this version of the Rockets wasn't a win streak or Durant's arrival, it was losing their point guard before opening night. Fred VanVleet was supposed to steady the offense. Most teams fall apart when that link snaps. Houston didn't. They shifted. They dropped to dead last in assist percentage and climbed to the top of offensive efficiency. That doesn't happen by accident. Because this offense never needed a point guard. It needed someone who could make the right decision every trip. Once everything funneled through Alperen Şengün, the shape of the team changed. He took the creation load, protected the ball, and turned possessions into continuous movement instead of set pieces. They didn't replace VanVleet. They replaced the job he was supposed to do. Losing him didn't expose a flaw, it exposed who they actually are. If Houston's identity is real, it has to work in two opposite environments: length and switching on one end, size and deterrence on the other. Orlando brought the long shell that usually chokes spacing. Houston broke it in one move. Clear the corner, park Durant weak side, freeze the help. You don't abandon a 25-point scorer, and that isolation delivered Şengün the exact matchup the system exists to create. What sounds like a post clinic was really spacing math. Durant holds the help, the floor tilts, and single coverage turns into 30 and 12. Overtime didn't change a thing. Same reads, same geometry, same outcome. 3 nights later, the problem flipped. Cleveland doesn't beat you with wings. They beat you with the Mobley-Allen wall. The matchup everyone said would expose Şengün, instead, he tore it apart for 28, 11, and 7. Cleveland made their run, cut it to 1, the moment young teams usually crack. Houston didn't. When the Cavs loaded the nail, the advantage didn't disappear, it shifted. And Aaron Holiday walked into 14 fourth-quarter points the second they sold out to stop Şengün. Orlando tried length, Cleveland tried size. 2 different defenses, one identity. And here's the tell. The geometry doesn't change. It all traces back to 3 actions. Houston scores no matter who's available because everything runs through 3 pressure points that tilt the floor before the defense can even react. They're elite in efficiency while sitting dead last in assists because the advantage shows up before the pass does. The ghost screen triggers hesitation immediately. Switch it, and Şengün hunts the mismatch. Stay home, and Durant steps into clean space. Either way, the defense pauses, and Houston hits the opening. The elbow flare distorts the weak side. Şengün takes the ball in the hub, Durant stretches the help, and the backline can't cover both. With Şengün's turnover rate, the read never wavers. The short roll punishes pressure. Blitz Durant, and the ball finds Şengün with numbers. No reset, no recovery, just an advantage that keeps expanding. And the part everyone keeps missing, those same triggers hold no matter who's on the floor. bigs, rookies, shooters, slashers. Swap them out and the geometry barely moves. Durant bends the floor sideways. Şengün bends it downhill. Together, they force contradictions that none of today's coverages clean up. Houston doesn't need rhythm or hot shooting. The structure manufactures clean looks on demand. Change the creators, change the spacers. The advantage still appears. These aren't plays, they're the blueprint, and the blueprint always wins. If the first two games showed the system at full strength, this one showed what happens when the safety nets disappear. No Kevin Durant, no Steven Adams. Down 12 at halftime on the road against Golden State. And Houston didn't bend. They took the night. Reed Shepherd dropped 31-9 and 5 against one of the smartest defensive schemes in basketball. Without Adams, they still ripped down 25 offensive rebounds, recreating the possession edge their identity turns on. Thompson turned the Curry matchup into a shutdown. 14 points on 4 of 13, capped by the fourth quarter challenge that wiped Curry's bailout call and swung the game. Houston stacked 22 points off turnovers, forced Golden State into a half-court crawl, and closed with a roster missing its star and its anchor. If the identity survives this, it survives anything. If you want to know why Houston's advantages never disappear, start with Steven Adams. Not because he is the system, but because he shows you its ceiling. He's posting a 26.37% offensive rebounding rate, the highest ever recorded, higher than Rodman, higher than anyone in NBA history, a number that shouldn't exist today. And when you pair him with Şengün, the identity hits its most violent form. The double big lineup sitting at plus 37 per 100, breaking every spacing rule people swear still matters. But the proof Adams isn't the foundation is what happens when he's gone. In Golden State, without him, Houston still recreated the same possession advantage with different personnel. The structure never collapsed. The volume never dipped. A star rebounder shouldn't be replaceable. Houston replaced the effect anyway. That's why Adams matters. He's not the system. He's what it looks like at full volume. Houston doesn't just create advantages, they multiply them. One of the strangest things about Houston is how they play with speed without ever playing fast. Most teams chase tempo by running. Houston gets it by removing the pauses inside a possession. One action hits the next, and the defense never gets to breathe. This is their identity, pace without pace. And it works, because they control two things that decide tempo better than any fast break, the glass and the defense. They grab an absurd share of their own misses, killing transition before it even forms. You can't run if you never secure the ball. Then there's Thompson, the one allowed burst inside a system built on control. When he comes down with the rebound, he detonates forward. He doesn't start fast breaks, he forces panic in the half court. Behind all of it is Udoka's structure, massive lineups that move far better than they should. Staying big doesn't slow them down, it wears you out. Switching, Şengün, Jabari, and KD hold long enough to make you blink. Help at the nail, they stretch the floor back out before the pass even arrives.
Offense has been more fluid with Şengün on the floor in the half court. They swing it. Shot clock winding down. Jabari gallops and scores.
Every part of the roster pushes the same idea. Play big, play deliberate, and make the other team crack first. Houston isn't beating teams with pace, they're beating them with pressure. For all the attention on Houston's offense, the defense is where Ime Udoka shows up most clearly. This isn't polite basketball. It's a system built to bother you on every touch. Udoka's philosophy is blunt. If the other team starts complaining, you're doing it right. Houston has embraced that completely. Golden State found out fast. Houston doesn't just switch, they reroute you. Cuts get redeflected, screen angles collapse, and by the fourth quarter, the Warriors look like they've been fighting uphill for 36 minutes. The Curry matchup made it obvious. Thompson fought him through every action, smothered every angle, and held him to 14 on 4 of 13. Not a slump, but the blueprint doing exactly what it's designed to do. And once that shot goes up, the guards join the violence. Reed Sheppard closes possessions like a veteran, cutting off second chances before they start. Cleveland saw the same thing. Donovan Mitchell exploded early, and then Houston shut the door. Pre-rotations killed his lanes, scramble switches turned drives into detours, and the game slowed into Houston's pace whether Cleveland wanted it or not. And here's the part everyone's missing. When Durant sits, the defense doesn't weaken, it hardens into one of the best shells in the league. They lose scoring, but the system morphs into its meanest form. Amen is the disruption. Şengün is the anchor. Jabari and KD form the length and the recovery.
Durant on top. Durant pulling back, shooting for the tie.
Different looks, one connected organism. Houston's identity isn't score efficiently, it's make you miserable. The offense bends the math, the defense breaks your rhythm, and the system survives long after the shooting cools. You see how real the identity is the second Houston goes to the bench? Most teams lose their rhythm there. Houston doesn't. Udoka leans into size. Şengün with Adams. Şengün with Capella. Amen as a third big. Different bodies, same blueprint. The glass dictates everything. Even the guard light lineups keep the shape. No spacing concession, no stylistic detour. Just the identity stretched across new pieces. Need offense? Durant sharpens it. Need defense? He sits and the shell tightens. The identity doesn't fade, it shifts. Amen and Reed fit right into that logic. One opens the door, one seals it.
Oh, pull back by Reed Sheppard. Oh!
Swap a piece and another strength takes over. The system doesn't crack, it just rebalances. For everything Houston does at a high level, the system isn't flawless, and that matters. Real contenders know where the edges are. The first edge is obvious, they don't take many threes. A team this big lives in the paint, and against certain matchups, that can turn into a math problem, until they lean into their most spacing-friendly lineup, where Sheppard and Jabari stretch the floor back open. The second shows up when Durant sits. Without him, defenses collapse onto Şengün, but that punishment is fading. Sheppard gives them a real release valve, and Amen's pressure forces defenses to guard the second side instead of loading the paint. And the last weakness is the trade-off they choose every night. If you crash the glass this hard, you're going to leak into transition. But Houston buries those losses under possession volume and half-court control long before they matter. So yes, Houston has flaws. They're the kind you absorb, because Houston tilts the math faster than the matchup can punish them. What makes this version of the Rockets dangerous is simple. When something goes missing, the system just leans somewhere else. Lose a scorer, and the defense hardens. Lose a big, and they still control the glass. Lose a creator, and the reads shift to different hands without changing the shape. The strengths move, but the identity doesn't. Pieces fall off, the advantage reroutes, and the math keeps tilting their way. That isn't momentum. It's a system that gets harder to beat the more you try to break it. After everything we've seen, the truth lands clean. Houston isn't a hot start. They're a problem. Built on pressure, control, and a structure that doesn't care who's available. Durant adds the precision. Şengün adds the command. Adams adds the force. But the system is the story. The part that keeps winning no matter who's wearing the jersey. For the first time in years, the Rockets finally look inevitable, and the league's still treating them like a coincidence. If this kind of deep dive is your thing, watch our Luka Doncic breakdown next. The blueprint for how a player becomes a problem. And hit subscribe. We're going way deeper than this. As always, thanks for watching.